gate. I'm not ready. Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Would someone move item 1.02 to approve tonight's agenda?
Move it.
Are there any additions or corrections? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed and abstentions. Pass 700. I need to share with everyone here this evening our evacuation procedure. In the event of an emergency, we have exits at the either end of this room, and we would ask you to go to either exit and please move out and away from the building. Would you now join the board in the pledge to our flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This brings us to the public forum portion of our meeting, and first up this evening is Amelia Ray.
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Very
Okay.
good.
All right. Good evening. Happy holidays to you all. My name is Amelia Ray. As an alumni of G. Ray Bodley High School, former teacher and tutor for the Fulton City School District, and administrator for the Preserve South 4th Street group, I would like to thank all of the school board members for their devotion towards being effective through structuring a vision of high academic expectations for student achievement and quality instruction, aligned with clear data-driven goals toward that vision. While I do not come to you today or this evening to discuss education policy, I would, however, like to make a small suggestion regarding the future design for our beloved school mascot. As you are aware, decades ago, bald eagles were nearly wiped out throughout the country to the point of extinction, due in part to hazardous pesticides and other crippling actions. Since the 1980s, our national bird has had a staggering population recovery that has been seen nationwide. Fulton has helped play a pivotal role towards this effort and has been blessed to witness firsthand the increasing bald eagle population that has been flourishing for a couple of years on the banks of the old Oswego. That's been made possible because bald eagles are naturally drawn to open waters, like the Oswego River, where they fish. I would therefore like to propose that our future school mascot have 2 or 3 feathers incorporated into its design. The eagle feathers would not only represent our national bird, but it would also affect the bald eagle population that happily now calls Fulton its home. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you for coming this evening. Next up, David Ferris, and you can please tell me, I'm sorry if I am butchering your last name. I hate doing that.
Good evening. You did a fine job. It's David Ferris, 720 Ontario Street in Fulton. I am a born and raised in Fulton, a GRB graduate, graduated at Cornell, and spent my adult life in Boston. When I lived in Boston, I actually lived in a small town called Walpole. Their mascot is, I guess you should say their nickname for the football team is the Rebels. Their fight song is Dixie. Their logo is the Stars and Bars. They have since changed that. Now, I am not a revisionist of history. I believe we need to understand it and put it into its proper context. What we're talking about tonight, in terms of the logo for GRB, is not something like the Atlanta tomahawk chop for the Atlanta Braves. We are talking about something that's part of our own history that we are proud of. I would recommend that you invite the governor and her head of education to come here for a town meeting so we could discuss both sides of the issue. Thank you for your time, and just want to let you know, I'll be watching this, and I vote.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Emily Burritt.
I'm with him, and he was doing a slideshow.
Oh.
I wasn't sure if I was supposed to sign on.
Okay, that's fine. Then we have Frank Castelia. Last but not least.
Frank Stelia, Oswego County legislator, as well as a resident of the city of Fulton and a graduate of G. Ray Bodley. Started out at Fulton High School. I'm going to talk a little bit about a few things, and we've only got 3 minutes, so I want to go quick, and hopefully everybody will kind of catch what I'm saying. As a county legislator, we're instructed that we cannot, it is not our job to micromanage the departments that we oversee, but it is our job to watch the taxpayers' dollars and how they're spent and to make sure they're spent wisely. With that in mind, I've, over the past years, have watched as I see that the school district budget and the school district dollars are being a slow bleed, as I call them. And a slow bleed can hurt you badly. This past week, I was over at Price Chopper, and I was in line to get some groceries, pay for my groceries. There was a young lady in front of me that had a whole, everything was all filled with baking products and all these goods. And I watched her, and I saw her give the cashier a slip of paper, and she said something about Fulton High School, or G. Ray Bodley, or the school district. And I said, excuse me, at the end when she got, I said, are you buying this for the school district? And she said, yes. I said, can you tell me why the school district would be paying retail when we should be paying wholesale? Her answer back to me was, that's a good question. And she says, plus, I'm here buying them, so I'm getting paid while I'm here. So it's a minor, and you think, well, geez, that's a little bit of money, Frank. Why are you, bothering with that? Because little bits and little bits keep adding up. So what I'm asking the board is, no, you're not supposed to micromanage and tell them to tell their people what to do. But what you have to do is keep an eye on what's happening with our dollars, okay? 3 years ago, the budget was passed, bonding for buses and vans. We didn't do them. 2 years ago, the same thing. We didn't do them. Now, the first words are, well, we saved money because we didn't bond. Well, this year we did. Only this year we're paying maybe 15 to 20% higher than we would have paid 3 years ago. So I'm just asking you guys to just keep an eye on the way things are happening, see people that are in the district, that are working in the district, see what's going on, okay? Because I know you guys are listening. I know that people over here are listening also, and you're going to pay attention. I just wanted to watch it. I don't pay taxes on school. I pay for the libraries, all I pay. I'm at that age, and I make so little. So, but there are people in here that pay a lot of money, and they want to make sure their money is spent wisely. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Okay, and then I have Emily Burt, but I think you have Mr. Els. So you're with Mr. Els, so you're going to do on the agenda in a minute. Okay. That concludes our public forum, and now I would ask the board to move item 1.06 to approve the minutes from November 22nd.
Move it.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed and abstentions. Passed 700. Are there any questions with regards to any of the upcoming meetings or events under President's Report? No questions. I'm going to turn the meeting over at this point to Superintendent Palvino.
Thank you. Welcome everybody this evening and happy holidays. So we're going to get right into it. Our students have been doing outstanding. They're waiting out there, so thank you for being here this evening. Tonight our first report is our fall athletics, Mr. Els. And one of the best things is lots of kids at a meeting, so I'm looking forward to hearing from them. And as well, our board as well. We're excited about that. So thank you. Mr. Els. Yes, please.
Thank you for inviting us tonight to do our seasonal end-of-the-year sports report for the fall. I do have some guest speakers that wanted to talk about all the great things we're doing in athletics and some of the fun that they had. I'm going to turn it over now to Harper, our student board representative and a member of our girls cross-country program.
Hi, everyone. So today we're just going to go over some of the stats of the fall sports. So we're first going to start off with cheerleading. So for varsity, this year we had 16 athletes participate in our cheerleading. They placed second at Fear to Cheer, which is one of the tournaments that was held in Hannibal. They also placed second at our sectional tournament, which is actually really good. And then a few of our all-stars are Katie Johnson, Hayden Shear, and Madison Brockway. And those are just highlighting some of those. So next up we have our cross-country team. Varsity. So we had 13 for both the boys and girls, so we do have a bit of a small team this year, and we had 35 modified running this year. So we were, for varsity, the boys and girls, we were the New York State Scholar Athlete team, and our captains were Cody Romanowitz and myself. And then I will let the modified kids come in and talk to you a little bit about their team.
I'm Adrena Horton. I just wanted to say that I loved doing cross country. I thought it was a really amazing thing for me, especially with so many kids joining, over 30 kids, and how we ran on the weekends, almost an invitational every Saturday. How we, all the different games we played. We'd have fun Fridays and we'd play ultimate frisbee, or we'd go for walks. We'd run down to Scoops and get ice cream. We did sometimes we ran up to 2 miles, mostly a mile and a half to get ready for the races because they weren't that far. Thank you.
So, Mr. Ellis, who are other students there from the modifieds tonight?
No, you come introduce everyone.
Can you just give us everybody's names because I want to hear that.
All right, so we got Jacoby Vescio, Mila Dempsey, Brooke Clossy, Lucas Hammond, Thomas Wood, and Noah Osborne.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Okay, so next up we're going to cover tennis. So we had 11 girls participating in girls tennis. So there is boys tennis, but that is in the spring. So this is specifically girls tennis. We had 6 modified girls participate. They also were a scholar athlete team, and we had 3 sectional qualifiers, which was Maddie Delano, Maddie Hotchkiss, and Julie Delano. So next up we have our football. So we had 79 between varsity and JV, and for modified we had 27. So for our varsity, we were undefeated this season with an 8-0 record. We also won our playoff championship game, which was held here against Central Square. So we had some athletes on the first team All-League, which was Sam Cotton, Tyler Mills, Will Patterson, Connor Moody, and Jonathan Clossy. And then if you tap on that, it can show you right after our game. And it should start up right where it should. So then this is all of our student section coming out and going on the field to go cheer on our guys after we won the big game. This really just shows just how supportive our students really were of our football team this year. So that was pretty awesome. I mean, that was a lot of kids down there on the field. That's it. I didn't know how to end the clip. Sorry. Okay. So next is our golf. So we had 9 boys participate in golf this year. They were also a scholar athlete team, and we had 1 sectional qualifier, which was Tanner Emmons, and he actually placed second sectionals this year. Next up, we had our girls soccer. So we had 22 girls on varsity, 18 on JV, and on modified we had 26. They again were a scholar athlete team. We won the Kickoff Mexico tournament. We were sectional qualifiers, and our high scorers this year were Maya Carroll, Olivia Bauer, and Gianna Thurlow. So for our All-League, our first team was Grace Clary, and for our second team was Olivia Bauer. And then Maya Carroll was our first team All-League, sectional All-Star, and All-CNY. So next up we got our boys soccer. Here we had 21 boys on varsity, 20 on JV, and 21 on modified. They again were a scholar athlete team. We were 3rd in the league. Our high scorers were Trevor Hendrickson, Connor Tibbetts, and Ryan Carroll. For our first team, we had Trevor Hendrickson and Braden DePoint. For our second team All-League, we had Connor Tibbetts and Ryan Carroll. And for our third team All-League, we had Trevor Doty, Carson Kahn, and Vinny Salerno. Okay, so for our volleyball, we had a participation of 14 on varsity, 14 on JV, and on modified we had 35. For our first team All-League, we had Natalie Frost and Sydney Satchel. Second team All-League, Callie Shepard and Maddie Baum. They again were also a New York State scholar athlete team. They were first in the league. They had an undefeated regular season, and they were first place in the gold bracket at a Central Square tournament. Next up, we have girls wrestling. So that's Emily.
So I'm Emily Barrett, and I'm here to talk to you a little bit about girls wrestling. This team is brand new as of this year, as of 4 other teams in the section, us being the 5th in Section 3. We are currently undefeated in our season. We're 2-0 as a team. These girls are more than I could ask for in a team. They're determined, hardworking, they're kind-hearted. We work hard in practice, and we just really give it all in our matches. Wrestling brought girls either to, backtrack. Okay. Wrestling, I think, brought a lot of girls in to either find herself or just enjoy something that maybe another sport hasn't gotten them. I know for me personally, I've done sports all my life, and I never found anything like wrestling that gave me the unified team that, and the friends that it was great. Our season is going really well. We had a match on Friday that was the first ever girls match in history against Holland Patton in Camden. We won, I think, 10 out of our 13 girls pinned their girls and won. Our goal for this season is to just add another section title to the Fulton Wrestling Board. Okay. Oh, quotes from our girls. I'm going to pull up my phone. I promise it's like good. Quotes from. No, I'm not just going on my phone. I promise. These are actual quotes that girls have said to me. This is by Madeline LaBeef. She said, "Wrestling changed me more than any other sport could have. It made me want to push myself harder and be the best version of myself I can be." And that's really touching because this is her first year, and maybe she hasn't found a sport that she, has felt that unified with. This one is from Bella Bogardus. "Wrestling brought an unbreakable bond between us lady wrestlers, which is very, very important to have with any team sport. The positivity and respect that we all have for each other is very important, not just me, but for every girl on the team." And it's very true because we are definitely an unbreakable bond, and we have high hopes and high standards for this season. And so far it's looking good, and we will not disappoint you guys. That's all we got. Oh, our girls are doing really good. Team captains is myself, Gretchen Purvis, and Tessa Newton. We're team captains because we've been doing it kind of the longest and just kind of know our way around. Gretchen has been wrestling since April, Tessa since March, and I've been wrestling since 8th grade. And, I think it's just really great and really fun. So, that's all I got.
I know the girls wrestling isn't really part of our fall sports, but since it is a new, and I know there's been a lot of questions about it, I thought it was important to have Emily here tonight. So pop quiz, does anybody know who had the first pin in Section 3 girls wrestling? So. And that concludes our presentation tonight. Does anybody have any questions for our student athletes? Because most of them, I see their attention span is definitely waning, being 8th grade runners. So I think we might want to get them out of here. But if anybody has any questions.
I just would like to ask if you're enjoying yourself, please raise your hand. Have you had a good year? Did you enjoy yourselves participating in your sport? Was it good? Yeah. Okay, that's all, I mean.
I think they want to know if they're having a good time tonight.
Oh, no. I can tell that tonight is questionable. But I do want to say thank you so much for coming. I can see that you were probably encouraged to attend, and I'm grateful that you opted to take advantage and come. And I would like to thank your families for getting you here this evening and for supporting you. And we appreciate seeing the kids, so thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedules to come this evening.
I just want to add that I think I speak on behalf of all my colleagues that our most favorite people to hear from are the students, and to see you guys here. And it takes a lot of courage to stand up in front of a room full of adults, especially as 7th and 8th graders. And so we appreciate you guys being here, and appreciate the speakers, and very nice job on the presentation. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just wanted to extend my appreciation to all of our students for their participation. In fact, I happened to go to a cross-country meet, and I couldn't figure out why there were so many students running around. And then I found out that there was over 30 of our modified kids, because I was trying to figure out why all of our junior high kids were there. It was an absolutely amazing experience to watch. And I want to thank our coaches and Mr. Els and our families for being quite flexible this year as well. Our field wasn't quite ready in September. A lot of adjustments in schedules and practices and games and activities. Did an outstanding job. So I want to thank everybody who was involved, from our student athletes to our families to our coaches and to our directors. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. Our second item this evening is the FCSD logo and name. I don't know if it's going to pop up there or not. There it is. Can you make it any larger, or is that about as big as it'll go? Put my glasses on so I can see it. I'll read from here. So I just wanted to I wanted to share a timeline that we're talking about. Want to thank our speakers this evening, but also want to give you the timeline, which you have. We actually updated it this evening after we received some documentation yesterday. I had the opportunity to listen to the Board of Regents. If you have an interest, I know that they tape them, and they're actually at their website if you'd like to hear. It's about 11:20 yesterday. And we received some information. I believe I shared that yesterday as well. But we have, so this correspondence came early November, or mid-November. We had a discussion on the 22nd. The 28th, we did a communication. On yesterday, we got the guidance, and you saw that where they really defined some things. There's still some clarity with respect to terms like warriors, raiders. Just there's going to be a committee put together, a commissioner's advisory panel. They're actually forming with the Office of Indigenous Education, and that's going to be formed in January. We're going to be moving forward with our, here's the rest of our timeline. From the 19th, so that's next Monday, we plan to get some communications out next week with respect to. We're going to send an update to our community, and I'm also going to ask if anybody's interested in serving on committee, things like that. But what we want to do is have a very clear outcome. And the outcome for that committee, the purpose of the committee will be to generate 3 recommendations for a new name, logo, mascot for the Fulton City School District to the Board of Education for either the 28th meeting, our second meeting in March, or the first meeting in April, with a final determination, hopefully in June. So I'm going to work us through the bottom part here. So we're going to close the window for communication and for people that are interested in servicing on the committee by January 6th. And then by the 13th, we can identify the members of that committee. The committee work will start, and then we'll have those initial meetings. What I see happening after that will be surveys, whatever that committee is generating as far as information that they'd like to gather. We'll have forums with all the different stakeholder groups throughout the course of the process. One of the things that's not written down there is we really want to make sure, I'm going to work very closely with our school administrators and Mr. Els with respect to making sure we reach out to as many students as possible. I think that's going to be paramount in this process. And then we'll generate those recommendations in March. I'd like to see the end of March, the stakeholder committee hopefully will provide some initial recommendations to the board in early April. And then what we're going to do is we're going to have we can have forums for feedback on those 3 recommendations. And then we hope to come back with final recommendation, a Board of Education resolution as required by what the commissioner has put out by the end of June. So that's our timeline. Are there questions? Ms. Papalaro.
Yes. Do we know, do we have like an approximate cost of what we're looking at as far as just everything from paper, letterhead to uniforms to,
Yep.
you know?
So the good news is we've already been working on a number of things already. So our website and our lettering on our what do you call it, the letterheads has actually moved to the F this year, just a plain F, block F, similar to what's on our field. That's already been taken care of. Our website was all adjusted since September as well. We started making some of those adjustments in alignment with the field and looking back to the 2010 work that had been done on this topic and realizing that at that time the logo and the iconography and all those pieces were associated just with sports teams. And so I got us back onto the straight F on everything. As far as and I'll say we're probably in better shape than some districts out there from the standpoint that many districts may have floors and things like that are done. We have Raiders in one of our ends of our gym. That's it, just Raiders, not Red Raider, it's Raiders, so that's good there. But that's the only piece of hardwood that we have. We have 2 banners that obviously are just hanging, and we have 1 painted icon in our front foyer. That's it, actually, district-wide. Other districts may have many other kinds of things, including floors, pools, things like that. So we do not have those. And I was speaking to Mr. Els, and he's here this evening, so I'm sure he can correct me if I'm wrong. We had a conversation. I'm normally pretty good with numbers. We generally turn somewhere around $100,000 a year in our, as far as our uniforms things like that, between 75 and 100,000, is that correct? On a 3-year, on a 3-year.
Because I know like the girls' soccer uniforms don't.
So Chris
have
can come up to,
Fulton
if you can just
or,
come up to
you know,
the microphone. So what we do
all the
is,
uniforms.
so one of the good things, when you look at this, we would, if we do this spring, we would be ordering in the 23 budget, 22, 23, which is our current budget, which we would be doing anyway. We would be doing another year in the spring of 24 and then the spring of 25. The document indicates that by June of 2025, we have to have removal of all of the pieces according to this. So it should fit in our budget relatively well with our transition.
Is there an assumption then that the colors will stay the same to minimize the impact, or that's
Yeah.
not been?
Oh, that would be my assumption. That nobody's mentioned our colors. I think colors is a very different
I just
piece.
wondered if you're,
But that may be something people bring up. That's not something that was, I feel the green and the red are very much a part of who we are and what we have been for many years. So that's the first question I've had, Mr. Cordone, around the colors. So, but when you look at our floors, our walls, our outside of our buildings, things like our signage, none of our signs, all of our signs, our 6 new signs, if you look, all have an F with no, it's just the block F. That was just something else we did over time, I guess. And so, again, a lot of the things that other districts are going to be grappling with that are really going to cost some money, we do not have to address. So we would be turning over the uniforms, as I said, every couple of years anyway. Every 3 years we turn them over.
Okay.
So,
So we're just not rushing in to buy all new everything.
Right.
no. I mean, it would be a process that we would work with Mr. Ells, and he would be able to tell me much better about the cycle of
Gotcha.
turnover and things like that. I know it's normally a 6-year process.
So
for-
it's 3 years at varsity, and then those go down to JVs. So uniforms are 6 years.
Yep.
I do have them separated, so we're not buying a mass quantity of uniforms in 1 year and then 3 years later doing the same thing. So I have them separated out, just so it's more manageable on our budget. So a lot of our uniforms, as we were saying, the girls' soccer doesn't have.
It has nothing on
Has
it.
nothing, right? That's soccer.
Just their number.
Yeah, that's soccer, and like boys' basketball just got new uniforms, and we used to get Raiders for our home ones. We didn't do that this time. We didn't do the F, and that wasn't on purpose. That was just on accident. We did it. The F is on the shorts, so we may look at what we would have to do for a new pair of shorts, but it's not full-on uniforms. So.
That's really helpful that they're giving till 2025. I didn't know that. I thought
Yeah.
everything would have to, so
Well,
that's
they just
great.
told, they just came, that's why you didn't know, they
Yeah.
just mentioned it yesterday.
That's,
That just
Yeah.
came out,
Because
yeah.
my vote would be to just put Fulton on everything and not put any, regardless of what the new. Oh, my vote would be to just, not my vote, but my suggestion would be to just put Fulton. I mean, that's how most of the uniforms are at other school districts anyways, just their name.
For the uniforms that you just bought, that, like you said, the basketball shorts have, I'm gonna assume the feather on the F.
Yeah.
Is there a way to, so if those are the newer uniforms, to cover those up with, I don't know,
So-
an F patch or a, I don't know, Sharpie? No, seriously, I'm just curious.
I have talked to our vendor. We will look at a patch. We will look at,
Because that could be more cost-effective than buying.
it could be. It could be all new shorts for the team. That is some, we'll look at those avenues as we get closer. It is gonna be difficult to change it because the way uniforms are actually into the threads now, it used to be sewn in or ironed on, that they've gone away from that process. They're actually part of the thread system now.
Oh, okay.
So it is a little bit more difficult, but boys lacrosse has the F with the feathers right on the back of the neck, and it's about this big. That's the only thing that would have to be changed, and could we do a patch over that? That's a possibility, so we would have to look at those things. I got you.
So in the document, I believe I shared this, didn't I, with the board, with if I didn't, I will make sure. Yesterday, they distributed the Board of Regents document, and on the page 6 at the top, which is kind of hidden up there, with a reasonable time, with no later than the end of the 24-25 school year. So I wanted to make sure I didn't just write that down, and yes, it's right in the document. So it gives us a nice, actually, the timing for us and the process that we need to follow to ensure that we have all of the feedback necessary to make the best informed decision for our district, allows us to do ordering this spring into the summer, and then it allows us to cover 3 different budgets to be able to do that. So it really sets us up well, and as I said, we don't have a lot of things to adjust, which may be different than other districts, may have a much larger budget impact than we will. Ours tends to be predominantly, it's our uniforms. In our field, we made the decision that that's a district-wide field, so we put the F. That would have been a more significant $30,000 to $50,000 adjustment, but we do not have to do that because we're in compliance. So, any discussion, or we'll draft a letter by the end of the week. We'll share it with the board, and then we'll plan on sending something out early next week and start just getting our community, just keep everybody informed, and then start the process of soliciting committee members.
And Brian, I know you watched the live stream feed of the meeting yesterday, and for the benefit of the public, I wondered if you could just capture the portion of the meeting where it was discussed that this is going to move forward, the change, but there's a 60-day window. So if people want to contact State Ed and leave a comment, they can.
Yeah, so yesterday, as I said, the Board of Regents had their meeting. It is on, if you go to the New York State Education Department Board of Regents, you can actually observe the webinar. And they talked about the fact that, one, they had a number of regents speak, and there's no question that this is moving forward 100%. There's no turning back. There's 100% support from the Board of Regents. The 60-day window is part of the process that's required for feedback. But I will say that as they reviewed it yesterday at the Board of Regents, all regents who will be voting on this were all supportive. So this is definitely moving forward, and it was very positive praise. They also reinforced, and one of the comments that caught my ear was the commissioner, because it hasn't really been public, but she talked about how closely she's been working with each of the nations across the state and how supportive that they are. In fact, one of the chief of the, I believe it was the St. Regis tribe, actually sent a comment reinforcing the importance of moving forward with this initiative as well.
When we're forming the committee, like the stakeholder committee, are we allowing board members on that committee as parents? Well, you know what I mean, if you have a parent within the district,
As parents.
you know, and you have a parent, well,
Because
you
if-
are a parent.
We're hoping to have all stakeholder groups. So we're having families, we'll have students, we'll have community members. We want to make sure that business members from our community is part of the committee as well.
But if you're the parents and the board member,
Right.
you
I
might
guess,
not
can
be
I
able
join
to
the
because we
committee?
can't have a forum, so it would have to be, right? I'm going to
Well,
assume
yeah,
it'd be
no,
3
right,
or
you-
less.
The only,
I guess that's what I'm asking.
I'm not
Am I
saying that
allowed
you
to be on
can't,
this committee?
we should talk about it, because
Okay.
here's,
Yeah.
one of the things I'm thinking is it's going to report back, it's coming back to us.
Right.
Whatever's discussed is coming back to us.
Right.
As a board member, you would have a right to contact whatever adult that you feel is representative, so a parent, another parent, because they're representing the whole, and share your opinion so that it's expressed in the meeting. It's going to be a limited, I mean, the committee can't
Right,
get huge.
Right, I understand, right,
So I would
Right.
say if there's not enough parents, if the answer would, if there's not enough volunteers, the odds would be very good. But if there's too many people, how would you feel about that? I mean, if there's a lot of
I don't know.
interest.
I mean, I guess we can discuss it. I would
Yeah.
love to be part of the discussion.
And I guess
It would
m-
be a different discussion than what we would have. Do you know what I mean?
And,
Yeah,
So I
do.
guess something we can look into.
and I
do.
was thinking that the way I was looking at it is, if you're a board member, can you be a parent? Because then another board member wouldn't, you know what I mean? We would have a forum if we had 3 other board members on, right? We
Well,
wouldn't
and
be able to
I
have
would- and we
that.
wouldn't do
We
that.
wouldn't be able to do that.
I wouldn't recommend doing that anyways, Brenda, because I don't want the community to think that we're trying to lead the discussion or the decision, because that's going to be one of the concerns, and that's just experience
Right.
talking, that people want to know that the people on the committee are truly representative of their stakeholder group. Not that you couldn't do that, you would be very good representative, you're a very good representative here.
Yep.
But if, I'm just concerned about how many people. I don't know what the number is that Brian has.
Right.
I don't know
Looks
how
like
many.
it's somewhere between 18 and 24 people is what it's looking at. And that gets awfully large for a committee. That's a bit daunting.
So
Yeah,
I
but
don't
that to
have
make
an
sure that we
answer
have
to
the different
that.
groups and students represented. That's probably
Right.
what the number's going
I
to come
think
out to.
that for such a big decision and such a controversial topic, you would almost
Want
want
it
a
big.
bigger committee as part of a discussion so that everybody
Well, that's
is
why we
heard.
would do focus groups so everybody gets heard. A committee, it's hard to get work done once you get over a certain number
Right.
to
I guess
actually
we
get
can
it
talk
done.
about it. I guess we can talk about it. It's going to be hard to represent everybody.
Well, you're not, you're
Can
gonna,
we wait until we
effectively.
see the interest,
yeah, I
Yeah,
think the
what-
interest is really a driver of where we
Fair
go.
enough. Yeah, I just wanted to bring it up.
So I,
Right.
yeah, I purposely put the June 6th because we have a meeting on the 10th. So that's why I picked the 6th as the date to kind of, as a window.
Right.
We have a meeting on the 10th. The other thing we could do is, we could look at the policy for we have the ad hoc committee
Yes,
policy.
we do.
And maybe we should perhaps take a look at that policy
We
just to
ca-
see if
yeah.
there's any, I just don't have that one memorized, so I don't know that one as far as the dynamics and the direction of as far as board
Yeah,
participation. on it.
I'm just thinking back to the last time, and it was a very large committee, and it's very hard to get the work done when you have, because everybody needs to have equal voice on the committee. And if you get over, you get 20 people, it's tough to get everybody in and have a really good, meaningful meeting.
Right.
Um,
I respect your expertise because you've been through
So
all of this.
but again, I want to highlight, again, focus groups are important because we are trying to, the goal is to help each representative make sure that they're hearing from the group they represent, so that they carry those concerns back to the committee table. So that's a little bit different. So I mean,
I've never been through this before, so maybe we can see how it's going to be organized.
Yeah.
And then I think that will help me get a better
Okay.
picture of like how
okay.
it's.
How many students are we hoping to have?
I believe it was somewhere between 3 and 6 is what we were looking at on
Yeah.
the committee, remembering that we're going to do forums in all of the different schools and
And then gather that
opportunities, so
input.
we can gather input, surveys.
So
things
that's
like
how we're
that.
going to try to broaden it, to get everybody's voice in, is the focus, through focus groups. Otherwise, I don't think the committee can get the work done within that timeline. And David, you've
Yeah, I would agree.
been part of some of the bigger
Yeah.
committees. It's very hard
Yeah.
to function well as a committee and make decisions when you get too big.
And I would say that anytime we've had this process where we've had to seek input, it's amazing that it does come together, and
It
it is
does.
representative at the end of the day. I know that, you can be hesitant to wonder how it might go and what the outcome might be, but it tends to work.
And I
very
shouldn't just
well.
say, it's either going to, I shouldn't limit us to focus groups. Focus groups, maybe surveys. Again, I'm not making that plan. I think the committee's got to have some of that discussion themselves, how they want to receive information. So I don't want to presume, I'm just giving an example. I want to be clear on that. I don't want to presume how the committee wants to move forward. I think that they should have a healthy discussion about how to gather the input so that they're comfortable, because they're the ones that have to bring that to the table and talk about it once they have that data.
I think my biggest concern, just to throw it out there, is I'm really hoping that we can involve all students. It scares me to think that there would be only 3 to 6 students
On the committee.
on the committee. Right, again, like I am unsure, I've never been through this process, and I just want to make sure that they are all heard.
So I think right now, what needs to get clarified, Brian and Robin, is from what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this is all the information I'm taking in tonight, we're going to form a committee of people, it sounds like, outside of our immediate circle. Do we know who the leader of that committee is going to be? Or in charge of the committee?
Superintendent will be facilitating the committee.
Okay, so you'll be in charge of that. Then we will have people representative of certain groups in the committee, which we said in 18 to 24, because we don't want it to get any larger than that. Then does the committee then decide about the focus groups, or the focus groups already an inherent part of this committee? And are surveys an inherent part? Or is this the committee has to make those decisions?
So my suggestion would be that the committee starts to form what types of information do we want to gather from focus groups and through surveys. So what information do we want to solicit from the different stakeholder groups? And that we solicit that information through those focus groups. For example, the committee may want to know what types of things, like this evening we heard about a bald eagle. Other areas might be other areas. We need to solicit what people's interests or thoughts might be that they're looking for. A question might be, what do you think represents a Fulton, a member of the Fulton learning community? What are the traits of those kinds of people? That would be the kinds of questions that I would say that these surveys would be generated by the committee. What types of information that will help them ultimately reach the goal of being able to put forth 3 names or logos for the board's consideration.
And it would be my hope that through your leadership and past experience, you and the committee could discuss the best ways to get feedback. So each group might have a different preferred method for providing feedback. Hence why I think the committee should have some of that input on how to move forward so that they're getting as much input as they can. And I would think that they would know best about the format to utilize to do that. And then Brian would also have some data from past experiences to share with the folks and figure out how to move that forward.
And I guess, Robin, where I want to counteract on that
Yeah?
is I think some of my fellow board members have shared this as well. What happens if down the road this committee goes through this and they present to us and we find out they didn't reach out to the kids as much as we hope. They didn't reach out in the community. It was a very limited group, and we knew everybody in the committee, which means it wasn't very, I like that I don't know everybody because that means I'm getting inputs from people that don't think like me. So what happens, because then is the committee a waste if we don't see that it provided the value that we need to make that kind of decision because of the controversial, I guess.
We could ask the superintendent as the facilitator of the group to keep the board informed about the methods they're using to reach out to the community. And otherwise, if we get our hands too much in it, people are going to think we're trying to control it.
Oh, definitely.
And we don't want to control this. We want people to do the work and to come back to us after having had good discussion and done their best efforts to get feedback.
So am I to assume then Brian will be presenting us with the information they're learning along the way, and then as well as that, we could say, well, we haven't heard from these people, then that can be factored into what the committee decides to do with the information we give them? Is that how I'm just trying to think, if there's some things that we need information on that we're just not getting, then I guess the committee inherently isn't doing what we need them to do. Because I know if they're able to go through and find the information, they can decide what's going to happen. But I want to make sure that if, we're as the elected representatives of our community, we want to make sure that if we're going off of information that, we feel is a whole picture. And I'd be remiss if we had a committee present us with information that I didn't feel was the whole picture, that I would have to then vote on that, or ignore the information, which I feel like would be even worse because these people have worked very hard on that.
It sounds to me like we've given Brian lots to think about that he needs to do this evening in terms of reaching out. And I am going to guess, based on my experiences working with Brian, that Brian is going to utilize a variety of ways to gather feedback.
Right. And
is that fair?
Yeah, and obviously we would have, for example, on you brought up students. Obviously we would have all the, for example, survey results. We would have all of the survey results. We had X amount of surveys completed at these grade levels. And here's the feedback from that. That's actual objective data. Meetings with student groups through forums, actual objective written down information. Same thing would happen through the other forums. Obviously we have the ability to tape anything we want to do, and we could tape our forums. I mean, really, there's a lot of different ways, but ultimately the committee needs to take that information and assimilate it into, here are three components. And then if you, in the timeline, I also talked about, and we added that actually to the original timeline for what you saw before, was that in late March, a report from the committee, but then going back out in April and May, and getting more information. Here's the 3 ideas. We want your feedback on these 3 finalists and these 3 final areas, and then the board has that information. So there's multiple opportunities, including feedback through surveys or forums, vice one or the other, or both.
I guess though,
afterwards.
Brian, to interrupt quick, so there will be surveys whether the committee wants them or not. I guess that's what I'm trying to get at. It's like you as.
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
this
Yes.
process needs to ensure, so I see
'Cause-
part of the process of the committee will be able to give us the types of questions that they want, and we'll develop a survey from those questions and that
Well,
information.
and also how
And share
some of the
with the board.
surveys, is it going to be electronic? Is it going to be paper? How are we going to do, and that's why I'm saying the committee needs some input, because I'm going to trust that they're going to understand and have some knowledge of what works best for the groups they represent.
Okay, and the way I was understanding it when I first heard it was that the committee just could decide, okay, well, we don't want a survey, we want to do this. And that's where I was worried, that's where I was worried
No.
that if they have that much decision-making, what if they do decide not to do some of that? Because then I feel like we wouldn't get that. But as long as we're doing it and they're
No.
just deciding how we're doing it,
I-
I think
it's
that
more
makes me feel.
process.
Yes, I feel a lot better with that.
I'm
And
sorry.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I wasn't clear about process.
I was
It's
wondering the
process.
same thing, just to say that, I appreciate the timeline so far,
Yep.
but maybe in terms of the process, once Brian has defined that more, if more detail can be added for the steps along the way, how he envisions
I
that to
think
roll
that's all,
out.
I think that's all fair, and then again, we'll know, after the 60-day period that the state has, we will know every detail. I don't expect anything to change, as Brian said, the regents are very clear, they're not gonna change their minds, they support moving forward. So the only, I just think that we'll be moving forward unless they change something in the timeline. That's about the only expectation I would think could possibly even change, is maybe some of the timeline gets altered based on the feedback they receive. But they've got that 60-day window to receive information.
I think, thank you, Tim. You speak very eloquently, and you have a great way with words. So I appreciate this discussion, because I guess, to say it again, my biggest concern is reaching all students. And part of my reason being, could we be part of a committee, is just to listen, of course, understand, and to sort of remind that it's a learning process for the kids, and we can't forget that. I think Harper and Molly, I speak to a lot of students, and something that is sometimes forgotten, that we just have to make sure we don't forget, is to educate the students about what is a mascot? What are we looking for here? You can give them a survey, but do they really understand the wording? Do they really understand what they're talking about? Are they going to take this seriously? So maybe a presentation, or getting all the student body down to the auditorium, and maybe like explaining to them in layman's terms what is going on, and make sure that they understand, and maybe they can formulate a better understanding of the process, and then, they can start talking amongst themselves, like the conversation that they can have, and that they will have. I know, Allison is texting me during class. You know what I mean? I just found this. This is a Raider bird. Is this, you know what I mean? Probably a math class. But they're thinking about it. You know what I mean? Who knows what she's doing?
Right.
But those are the conversations that the kids, they're going to have, that they're thinking about. And I just,
I think it's great, and
I just
but
don't
it's
want to
not-
forget, I
Right.
just don't want to forget about them.
And I would trust that our superintendent would make sure that we get input from the leadership in our school buildings as to how they want to help the students prepare for this discussion.
Molly,
Mrs.
are you
I mean, I think
hearing?
that's a fair point about helping the kids prepare for discussion.
Molly, are you hearing any feedback so far from your peers at this point?
I have heard a couple of suggestions, also from some teachers actually. But I actually had a question for about the committee, and the surveys. So I understand. I'm really glad that student voice is being inputted, However, I am concerned about where our age group is going to be from, because I think it's great that especially like the high school will be involved, the junior high, but is there like a cutoff? Because certain students that are below a certain age, I think won't really understand.
We had
as much.
talked about, and again, we're still flushing out, all these pieces, but we had talked about elementary and middle and junior high and high school representation, all three levels. So like sixth graders, for example, probably could handle, that type of piece and could represent their schools, and we would, try to get information. Obviously, from elementary kids, it's a little more difficult. And that's why I was talking, when I talked about 6 kids, it's really the range of our school district, because think about it, our sixth graders and our younger kids are going to be here for the next 8, 10, 12, 13, 14 years.
Mhm.
So, yes.
Also, so I know because I'm also in the school culture advisory committee, and we do have a pretty good select few students. However, I do notice that a lot of the students that are chosen for these committees are usually the same students over and over again, which is great because it's amazing to have their input. However, a lot of the times I see, even in student senate or a lot of student-led things, there's only those select few students, and a lot of other students' voices kind of get drained out or kind of not.
Right. So we were talking about that as well, Maya. We're very conscious of that. I agree with you. We have to make sure that we're getting a wide range of voices and perspectives. I agree.
Mrs.
That's why the
Geithner, are you in
surveys
here
are so important
tonight?
because. What's that?
I have a question for you,
For-
just because I believe Mrs. Geithner with the curriculum stuff. Would there be any interest, or has there been any interest shown? We're doing a seal of civic readiness. Would this be any way to incorporate, getting your word into the conversation, the process of going through? Would there be any interest even in our participation in government just being involved from the learning aspect involved with this process?
So as part of our Seal of Civic Readiness projects, this certainly could be, if students participated on the committee or if they participated in a focus group, could be a reflective community-based experience or volunteer experience that they could write about and certainly submit as part of that process. So we will certainly be reaching out to our social studies department here and at the junior high. And I also, appreciate, Molly, all the things that you said about student voice and making sure that we have diverse representation. And I think the variety of means of collecting that feedback that Mr. Polvino has suggested will help us with that. But I also want to put in a plug in for our elementary kids, who we shall never underestimate, because Mr. Polvino has received more than one petition from second grade, very well stated and very well researched. So, and they got what they needed. So I agree, developmentally there may be some complex issues for them to digest, but as far as what they want, I think they know pretty well.
Yes, they do.
It's my experience as a grandmother. They really are a lot smarter these days.
So what I plan to do is at every board meeting, we'll provide an update. So there should-
Well, I don't know, not every
Well,
board meeting
every
because
board
of our
meeting when there's
agendas.
worth sharing.
But
an update.
I would say
Yes.
frequent updates,
Frequent
maybe.
updates, there you go. Well, we only have 2 meetings a month. so.
I know that, but we also sometimes get very full agendas.
Maybe
And
something in the
people like
Friday
to get home at a
update.
decent hour.
Perhaps, that's another place we can go to.
Are you speaking from experience again?
Again, it's been one of the criticisms on our self-evals about, the time to get out of here. So I have to help manage that time. And so I'm just trying to be fair about it, and I don't want to promise you every meeting and then find out we can't fit it in.
So
It
how
would
about I
only
say you'll receive ongoing updates?
I like that. That would work.
There you go. That's the conclusion of the superintendent's report.
Thank you.
I wish everybody a happy holiday season. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, item 4.01, accept financials.
Move it.
Second.
Any discussion on any of these reports? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, and abstentions. Passed 700. Item 4.02, to accept the no bid award regarding the internal auditor.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passed 700. 4.03, resolution approving bid withdrawal request from our capital construction project.
Move it.
Any discussion? Superintendent Palvino, could you just highlight for those listening what this is about, withdrawing the bid request? We had someone withdraw.
So we went through the formal bid process. As you know, we do a formal bid opening publicly. And then what happens is our construction manager reaches out to make sure that they can meet all elements. And when the bidders was reviewing, they realized that they didn't bid all aspects of the job. And so their bid was lower than others because it didn't have all of the components. So they wrote us the formal letter requesting that their bid be released. We worked with our attorneys, and this was the result.
Thank you. If there's no other discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, and abstentions, passed 700. Item 4.04, to award the contract for the 2019 Capital Improvement Project, Part 2C, Phase 2C.
Move it.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, and abstentions, passed 700. Item 5.01, to approve the Committee on Special Education recommendations.
Move it.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, passed 700. Item 5.02, to approve the destruction of unused ballots.
Move it.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, passed 700. Policies, 6.01, to approve the policies that we talked about last month,
Move it.
or last meeting.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, passed 700. I wondered if you'd like to batch items 7.01 through 7.08?
Move it.
Second.
Yeah, you are too.
Yes.
Any discussion?
Just to congratulate those that are retiring. They have done a lot for the district, so we will miss them.
You gotta speak into your microphone.
I said just congratulations and best wishes to the retirees on the agenda. They have contributed a lot to the district over time, and they'll be missed.
All right, if there's no other discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed and abstentions? I abstain. You know, I only wanted to abstain on one, but I didn't do that correctly, but it's only one, and I'm good with all the others, but I'm not going to go back and redo it, but just for the record, it was just one item. Item 7.09, please, or I can do 7.09 through 7.12 as a batch?
Move it.
Second.
I'm checking right now. I need 1 second.
My father's on tonight,
Yes.
so I have to abstain from that
So
one.
we're good through 7.12, yes.
Okay.
I seconded.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed and abstentions, passed 700. Item 7.13, Tim, this is the one you're looking for.
Okay.
And this is the fall-winter athletic coaches.
Move it. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed and abstentions,
Abstain.
passed 601. And this brings us to board forum. So I'm going to start with Molly.
I guess I just want to thank all the speakers tonight, the student speakers. They did a great job, and I know it's a little nerve-wracking sometimes, so I think they did a really good job. I also, I am excited to see what the community comes up with and what the students come up with, and just pretty much everybody for our new logo. And I'm sure it'll be great. And just that everybody has a really good holiday break.
Thank you. Mrs. Mainville.
Thank you to all of our speakers tonight, for the coaches and parents, and most importantly, the students coming out. Thank you, Mr. Ellis, for providing the fall summary. I got to tell you that the biggest one for me, just personally, just because we got to see it firsthand, is the student section rushing out into the field. Because that is demonstrating we are proud to be a student at Fulton City School District, and it's all coming back. And I really hope that that continues in our discussion, and we can all be respectful and come together and work together for this very difficult decision on a mascot. Thank you to the students who spoke. Molly, it's always great and enlightening to hear what you have to say. And Harper, I can tell why you are a captain. You took charge up there. You're great at public speaking. That's hard. So thank you for that, and congratulations to all the athletes and the coaches and the parents, and have a Merry Christmas,
Thank you.
everybody.
Mrs. Papalardo.
I'm just going to say ditto to everything that Jen just said, and thank you for our speakers that came in tonight and voicing some of your concerns, and it's always good to hear from community members and see people here with interest in what's going on in the district. So,
Mr. Cordone.
I will also echo my colleagues, so just to move things along.
Okay, Mr. Crandall. Use your microphone. Yeah,
Bring it
pull it closer. We can't,
There you go.
it's not working.
Just want to thank everyone for speaking. You're getting better at public speaking, Frank. You're improving. Hope everybody has a good holiday. Tom, I hope you've been good. No cold this year. And that's it.
Thank you. Mr. Connors.
I'd really just like to thank first all of the other board members. I know we're talking about the mascot right now, and it's really great to hear a lot of us are, just as involved and really interested in making sure we get this right as I am. I think it's always, you never know where people fall on issues, and I'm just glad to see that everyone's very passionate and ready to discuss and move forward with this, because I think it is something that does have a big impact to our community. I'd also like to give a shout out again to women's wrestling. I think I love being the first at something. Biking across the country, climbing Kilimanjaro, but I just feel like, hearing first pin, first win, first this, it's great, and to hear how excited they are. So I just like to, like I said, give them a shout out. And I would also like to thank Mr. Els and Mr. Palvino for the work, they've already put in a lot of thought, in regards to the mascot and how we can, make this be as smooth as a transition as possible, regardless of what the outcome of some of these committees and decisions are.
Thank you. Mrs. Abelgore.
Yep, I would like to ditto what all of my colleagues have said. Y'all took everything I was going to say. But, Mr. Krapani, is this the first time we've seen you down at the other end, or is this just the first time I've seen you down there? You're very quiet tonight. So I just wanted to welcome you. It's good to have you here. As always, I love when our student voices are here. Our students, Harper, thanks for taking over for your dad, because it's great. I will shout that out till the day I'm not sitting up here anymore. Student voice has always been super important to me, and so I love it when we have them in here. So it's nice to be back with all of our students. I just wish you all a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. I hope that you get to take some time to relax and enjoy your family, because we know that it can get very hectic this time of year. And I am not dreaming of a white Christmas.
Thank you.
Just saying.
Something that we didn't hear about here tonight, but Brian informed us through communication. I just want to say a special thanks and shout out to Angela Ferlito for bringing the permit exam to the high school, making it easier for our students to have access to take their written exam to get their driver's permit. Angela continues to go above and beyond to create opportunities to help our kids as they move forward into the next phase, get prepared to move forward into the next phase of life as an adult. And I know for some kids, getting down to motor vehicles to take that exam can be challenging. And being able to do it here and being on a testing site is just an awesome thing. So I would just ask, again, if you see Angela, I hope you say thanks to her. I'm just so excited that she's done this for our young people and their families, because sometimes it's the parents have a hard time getting out of work to take their kids to take that exam. So it's a very important part of life, and I'm just so appreciative. I'm very grateful also that the students came this evening. I enjoy hearing from them. Thank you to the folks that showed up tonight to share your thoughts with the board. I do appreciate it. We might not always agree on everything, but for the most part, I appreciate just hearing and giving me something to think about. And I do always think about what people have to say. And lastly, I wish everyone a good holiday season. I hope it's healthy and safe for all of you and your families. And Merry Christmas to all. And Mr. Connors, thank you so much for this lovely treat.
Thank you.
And my appreciation, Tim shared with me that his family helped him put these together, including his nephew, who Tim said wanted to make sure he made his own bag of the chocolates. But thank you, it was very thoughtful.
Thank you.
And now at this point, it is our second public forum, so anyone wishing to address the board on a topic up from tonight's agenda, now is the moment. So if you'd like to address us on a topic we talked about here in a meeting, you can do that now. You didn't disappoint me, Frank, thank you.
Yes, still Frank Stewie, but I'm not going to talk to you as a county legislator. Okay? Now I'm going to speak, and it's not talk at you, it's bringing points forward. I keep hearing the comment mascot, and even when I was in high school, we didn't have a mascot. We had a logo. The only thing we had different than you have now is that during the Fulton and Oswego football game, we used to have somebody who was called Chief Red Raider. And that was the only thing that was close to being a mascot. But if any of you do know me, you do know that I do not like to lay down whatever the state or federal government gives me a directive. I look to see what avenues there are that are different than the directive that they're giving us. So I would ask that, yes, and the committee size is really something that boggles my mind. I mean, we've got 25 legislators up there, and people, when I go to different NISAC meetings, they say, how do you get anything done? But, you know, and that's the thing. But the issue that I wanted to bring forward is, in this group that you're going to get together, there has to be, and I believe I may be wrong, and Mr. Palvino, you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, and I don't mind being corrected, okay? But I believe that there is some loophole in there that they have said that if you can get someone from the nations that you're affiliated with to approve your using of the logo. Now, and we're not talking about a mascot, and we're not talking about what was done at the Cleveland Indians, where they were making fun of the native tribes. We're talking about an issue that is people in my generation, and I'm older than everybody in here, we take pride in what we had as a logo. And we take pride in that avenue of being with the Native Americans. So when we take it away, it's my own opinion, just my opinion, is that it is another way of government trying to eliminate the Native Americans from our, history, because we're going to take away again another thing, okay? And I'm sorry, I can't believe that every nation is saying, don't use our logo because you're making fun of us. It's not that. We in Fulton, from back, and I'm 75 years old, so we took pride in that name. We did not take it as a derogatory comment, derogatory anything. It was all pride, always has been, and it always will be. And I'm not talking about money, because the money issue, about we're going to change this, we're going to change that, who's going to pay for this, who's going to pay for that. It's not that. It's the pride that's in there. And as far as what, the things that you guys talked about, the thing that I like about this, coming to this meeting, is that over on this side we have very, very, and over a couple of years over here, okay, have very, very intelligent and meaningful questions. And on the other side, you have very intelligent answers. So it's more of a joy to come here than it is stressful to come here.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so I want you guys to know that, all right? I want to thank you all. Have a Merry Christmas. Hold accountable your budget. Just telling you. Because at some point in time, I will be coming back and probably won't be making everybody happy with my comments, okay?
You're
Thank you
preaching
very
to the
much.
choir, Frank. We've been doing that for a long time.
Thank you
holding the
very
line.
much.
Thank
Everybody
you.
have a Merry Christmas.
You too. Thank you.
Robin,
Yes.
are we allowed as board members to speak during this time period?
Not generally, no.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Ferris.
Hello, I just want to second pretty much what Frank said. I'm very pleased that we're going to have a commission, a group of people, committee, whatever you want to call it, to solicit all the input we can get. But I also do not like to be told by Albany what our morals are and how we should be conducting ourselves, particularly where our logo, whatever you want to call it, is really based on our heritage. It's not something that we thought of as a cute name. This reflects people that lived here long before the white man got here. I think we need to do it out of respect, and I think we are doing that. So I would be interested to see what the committee comes up with, but I think we need to make sure that it reflects what we want and not what Albany wants. Thank you.
In regard to the Albany question, we don't have a choice, and they've made that clear. And I don't want anybody to have any false hope. They will replace any board and their administration that doesn't do what they're told to do. That's already been stated very clearly, and they will have done what they will have done. They do have a 60-day window. You can, I'm not sure if you go on the state, New York State Education website, perhaps you can find a place where you can submit your thoughts. They have that 60-day window that they're accepting thoughts, and that's the best I can offer you. In honesty, I don't see any other options. And with regard to the Native Americans, it's been said repeatedly, and I wasn't there, so you would have to contact State Ed, but the commissioner has said she has worked with every tribal leader in the council, and they do not see it as an honor. And the comment was made, there was a newspaper article recently, one of the tribal leaders here in New York State said, and I had never thought about this myself, said, it's not an honor if the people receiving the honor don't feel it's an honor, and they don't. And I never knew that. And so I just want to share that for me, I know better now, and I'm going to try to do better. I grew up, I'm younger than you, Frank, thank God. Not a whole lot, but still younger. I'm appreciative of that. And, but things are different than when we were young. They are significantly different. And there's things I didn't know. And so that's how, and I think that's true of all of us. So I'm just going to, I appreciate your thoughts tonight, everyone. And I appreciate the fact that you enjoy our open conversation and appreciate that we try very hard to be respectful of everyone. So thank you so much again for coming. And again, have you two all safe, happy holiday season and Merry Christmas. And with that,
Robin?
yes, Tim?
Would you mind clarifying, because I've talked
Yes.
to you besides,
Yes.
just so everyone can hear it in the
Yes,
meeting, that's
yes.
what I wanted to mention
Okay.
earlier, how we did follow up on the initial release where it looked like there could be a possibility. And
Yes.
that was misinterpreted. We
Yes.
talked to the state,
Yes.
and what we learned was you had to have prior approval to this, as well as an association with a tribe already.
In this state.
And because we don't fulfill any of those checkboxes, that doesn't apply to us at all. So some people were looking into that as a possible option.
Yeah.
Robin and I found out that it does not apply to us, sadly.
So, but we will do our very best to make sure that our committee works well to the benefit of this community. And like everything, things change, and we'll figure a way how to go forward, and how to go forward very proudly. I believe that we can do that. So now I need to ask the board to move item 8.03 to go to executive session.
Move it. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And abstentions? Pass 700. We're going to move into an executive session. We will return here to close out the meeting. You're welcome to stay if you want, or not. And thank you again for those of you that are watching that may choose not to hang out till we come back. We wish everyone watching a very happy holiday season. Merry Christmas. We have returned from executive session. I have item .01 to adjourn the meeting. Would someone make a motion?
Move it.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Passed 7-0-0. Thank you again for joining us this evening. Have a great holiday season. Merry Christmas.
I'll give it to you, Jen. I'll give it to you.
All my colleagues.